main story. After the ship collision incident on August 19th, the Philippines ran to the US crying, "Look, both of my ships are wrecked, and you haven't even transferred that $500 million to me. Let's not even talk about the money anymore. The key issue is that my Coast Guard ships were rammed. We signed the US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty, didn't we? I've been attacked, so, US, you've got to step in and back me up." The US listened and, while holding back laughter, said, "Well, the US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty is only triggered by war. You guys are just having a scuffle between your Coast Guards. That doesn't count. Besides, it was just a collision. According to Newton's third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If they hit you, it's the same as you hitting them, it's mutual. At best, this is a brawl, not a criminal act. And anyway, no one was seriously hurt, so there's no need to invoke the treaty." Upon hearing this, the Philippines got angry. "You scoundrel, I knew you'd say that. How many times has this happened? You're all talk. It's been 2 or 3 years now, and you've never actually taken any action. I get it, you're just a con man, treating me like a fool." Then they thought, "Oh, you want casualties? Fine, I'll give you casualties." The Philippines secretly hatched an evil plan. The next day, on August 22nd, they sent a small transport plane to 2nd Thomas Shoal to drop supplies to their BRP Sierra Madre 9701, which has been stranded there for over 100 days. But since it was a transport plane, it wasn't very accurate, and much of the supplies were fished out by our Coast Guard. Upon inspection, we found mostly fuel. We then suspected that the 9702 might take some action soon, but we didn't know exactly what. So, we increased our vigilance and sent more Coast Guard ships near the 9701, including the 4202, 4103, and the 2155. The 2155 is similar to the 21551 that I mentioned earlier, also a GL5500 class high-speed self-riding patrol boat. The other two, the 4200 and 4103, are a different type, known as 056 class Coast Guard ships. If you're a military enthusiast, you might recognize the name 056. Yes, these are retired 056 frigates repurposed as Coast Guard ships, with the words Coast Guard painted on them. It's kind of like how some professional soldiers transition to law enforcement when they retire. Many of my fans are police officers, and I myself transitioned the same way, just continuing to serve in a different capacity. Along with the Coast Guard ships, a group of steel fishing boats also came to help protect the shoal. People from inland areas might not understand, thinking, aren't fishing boats owned by civilians? Why would they charge to the front lines in dangerous situations? Well, the Coast Guard protects not only national territory, but also the livelihoods of coastal fishermen. Imagine if the Coast Guard lost a confrontation at sea, fishermen would have no standing after that. Before we had a Coast Guard, how many times were our fishermen taken advantage of? They were captured, beaten, and even ransomed back to their families. Things like that happened all the time. At sea, there are no laws, only fists matter. So, whenever the Coast Guard acts, fishermen naturally step up to help, because if we win, that fishing area becomes ours. From August 22nd onward, 2nd Thomas Shoal became very busy, with Coast Guard ships and fishing boats everywhere. The Philippines saw this and thought, "Good, this is exactly the atmosphere we want." They then announced to the world, "Our ship 9701 at 2nd Thomas Shoal has run out of supplies. We need to resupply it, but the pandas won't let us. They're bullying us, but we're not just going to sit here and take it, we'll deliver the supplies." Dear global media, we welcome you to join us on our supply ship and witness how evil the pandas are. Sign up now to come aboard. After this message was sent, international media rushed to sign up. Why? Because the media lives off of hot topics, just like social media. The Philippines Media Department then screened the applicants and selected a few foreign journalists, specifically American ones. There were men and women, blonde and blue-eyed. Once the media was chosen, they were officially notified to board the ship at 9 a.m. on August 25th. The journalists, armed with cameras and selfie sticks, arrived at the pier and saw the BRP Natu Sandy 3002. The foreign reporters were puzzled. "Wait, this ship is much smaller than the last one. It's only about 30 meters long and 5 or 6 meters wide. with a displacement of around 150 tons. The Parola-class patrol boats you sent earlier were over 300 tons, and they got wrecked. This one's only 170 tons. Won't it get sunk if it gets hit? The captain of the Not Too Sandy, smiling, walked over to the reporters and explained, "We're using a smaller ship this time because it's more agile. According to our intelligence, there are many Chinese Coast Guard ships blocking us near Second Thomas Shoal, trying to prevent us from delivering supplies. But we're determined to succeed, so we believe a smaller ship has the advantage. First, it's faster, and second, it's more maneuverable. We can zigzag and break through their defense line to deliver the supplies to the 9701. The reporters, enlightened, nodded. "Oh, that makes sense. Smaller means more agile." But one reporter asked, "If your 9701 has run out of supplies, why doesn't it just come back? Why keep sending supplies?" The captain hesitated. "Our ship won't come back. Second Thomas Shoal is ours." The reporters, curious, pressed further. "If the shoal is yours, why isn't it marked on your maps? And before 1960, you never claimed it either." The captain, flustered and turning red, replied, "Don't worry about the details. Are you coming or not? If not, I'll find someone else." The foreign reporters, seeing the captain get flustered, felt proud they'd clearly hit a sore spot. Satisfied, they boarded the Not Too Sandy, which then set sail towards Second Thomas Shoal. As I mentioned before, Second Thomas Shoal is only about 100 kilometers, no more than 200 kilometers, from Palawan Island. The Not Too Sandy sped toward the shoal, while the foreign reporters, in swimwear, walked around the deck filming. They occasionally greeted the captain, who barely acknowledged them. By around 1:50 p.m., the Not Too Sandy approached within about 10 kilometers of Second Thomas Shoal, and our Coast Guard spotted them. "Hey, pay attention, the Philippine ship is here again. This time, the ship is a bit smaller. Guys, go and block it. Don't let it get near the 9701. The Philippines 9701 has been pretending to play dead here for over 100 days, under the name of scientific research, but really, it's just staying here without leaving. You don't want to leave, fine, then survive on nothing. There's no way you're getting any supplies. Once they get hungry enough, they'll leave on their own." So China's Coast Guard ships 4200 and 4103 both set off, surrounding the NATO Sandy ship from both sides. Meanwhile, the collision ship 2155 was blocking the front. And then there was the 21551 boat, the one that got hit last time, observing from afar. Someone asked, "Why is the 21551 just watching this, Tim?" The captain of 21551 replied, "Look, last time we got hit, and we haven't even fixed the damage yet. So, I'm still recovering. There are so many ships this time, you guys go ahead. I'll be cheering for you from the side." Hearing this, the 21555, another collision ship, understood. "Since that's the case, I'll take the lead this time." So, 21555 prepared for a frontal confrontation while 21551 just watched from the sidelines. As soon as the NATO Sandy approached within 10 kilometers of the Xianbin Reef, it was immediately surrounded by our 4200 and 4103 ships. As I mentioned earlier, both ships are retired 056 frigates with displacements close to 2,000 tons. Now that their missiles and rockets have been removed, they still weigh over 1,500 tons. So, compared to the 4200 and 4103, the NATO Sandy looked really small, like a little kid. But the NATO Sandy didn't stop, continuing to move forward. Of course, our Coast Guard ships warned it, "Hey, kid, don't come any closer. This is Xianbin Reef, our territory. Get lost immediately, or we'll hit you with the water cannon." The captain of the NATO Sandy just pretended not to hear, with a blank expression. The reporter next to him reminded him, "Hey, Captain, the Chinese are about to hit you with the water cannon. Aren't you going to say something?" The captain glanced at the reporter with a smirk. "Why are you here? You're here to film the Chinese water cannon, right? If they don't spray us, wouldn't your trip be a waste?" The foreign reporters thought about it and agreed. "We're here to cover the news, and if it's a peaceful encounter, we've come for nothing." The captain continued, "It's about time. I bet the Chinese will start using the water cannon soon. You won't be able to film it from inside the captain's cabin. You'd better go out onto the deck." The reporters, realizing this was the highlight of their trip, rushed out of the captain's cabin onto the deck. The captain said, "Don't worry, my ship is fast, the water cannon won't reach you." The foreign reporters, reassured, prepared to capture some dramatic footage. As soon as the reporters were out on the deck, the captain gave an order to lock the doors and windows of the cabin. The chief mate locked everything, watching through the window as the excited reporters on the deck continued filming, unaware of the danger. The chief mate shook his head. "Sorry, guys, orders from above." At this point, the strategy was clear. This was a scheme hatched by the Philippine President Marcos and his team. They wanted casualties, knowing that if foreign journalists were hurt, it would trigger the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty, forcing the U.S. to intervene. If the U.S. didn't intervene, they could claim it had abandoned its people. Meanwhile, our 4,200 and 4,103 ships had raised their water cannons. Seeing the group of blonde-haired, blue-eyed journalists on the deck, they realized it was another setup. The journalists were there to provoke sympathy on the world stage by pretending to be victims. The water cannon operator asked the captain, "Should we spray them? If we do, they'll all be swept into the sea." The captain replied, "No need to knock them into the sea, we're not killers. Just spray above their heads, force them back into the cabin. Their expensive equipment will get wet, and they'll retreat soon enough." The operator, impressed by the captain's foresight, pressed the button, and the water cannon sprayed a high arc, not directly hitting the deck but sending splashes down. The reporters, startled, ran around the deck trying to dodge the water, panicked by the high pressure of the cannon, which could tear a person apart if hit directly. Even the splashes hurt when they hit the reporters' faces. After some chaos, the journalists realized they couldn't continue and decided to return to the cabin, but the door was locked. They pounded on the door, shouting to be let in, but no one opened it. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped outside. One of the journalists, a Filipino, calmly said, "They won't let you in until it's safe. The Chinese won't spray you directly, they're just trying to scare you." The others, still panicked, asked, "What if they spray us and we fall into the sea?" The Filipino journalist smiled. "If they wanted to spray you, they would have done it by now. Don't worry, you'll be fine." His calm words gradually reassured the group. They started looking for shelter under lifeboats and along the edges of the ship. Our Coast Guard operator, noticing they hadn't gone back inside, realized the door was locked. Confused by this tactic, the captain thought, "What's their game here?" Just then, the NATO Sandy accelerated, and before our 4,200 and 4,103 ships could react, it crashed into the 21551 boat that had been observing from the side. The captain of 21,551 was shocked. "Why do they always come for me?" Just as he said that, the NATO Sandy slammed into the same spot as before, denting the beam again. As the captain was about to start swearing, his phone rang. It was his superior. "Captain of 21,551, start rescuing people. The reporters from the NATO Sandy have fallen into the sea. Get them out before something serious happens." Looking out, the captain saw that half of the reporters were already in the water. Although the collision was less severe than previous incidents, it had thrown many journalists overboard. Despite the situation, our Coast Guard acted quickly, rescuing the foreign journalists from the sea. Fortunately, no one was taken by sharks. This event, which took place on August 25th, created a huge global uproar. The world condemned the Philippines for endangering foreign journalists and fleeing the scene, leaving our Coast Guard to save them. It violated humanitarian principles and sparked widespread outrage. As for the 9701, which had been playing dead for over 100 days, why did it finally set sail? We'll talk about that next time.